What's going on, YouTube? It's Tej, back again with another video, and today I am rattling off 32 NFL Combine winners. What a fun weekend it was. A lot of surprising names maybe moving up the board, and then some great athletes that we expected some awesome numbers for, but they were still able to go above and beyond. So I'm going to give you 32 Combine winners. We're going to do this just in order of the days. So we'll start with, defensive linemen, then we're going to get into the day 2 guys, the day 3, day 4, so on and so forth. And I'm just going position group by position group. I thought about trying to rank up like who moved up the most, but it's a little too difficult to do with 32 guys, especially at different positions. And how do you weigh the move from round 4 up to late round 2 guy versus top 16 guy to top 8? So there's just too many hoops to jump through. So we're just going to do this basically in chronological order. And for the most part, I'm probably just going to throw RAS score at you. There will be a handful of guys where I make note of the 40 or the 3 cone or the broad or whatever. But the RAS score kind of just sums it all up. And look, we're talking about these guys because they're all freaky athletes. So if I rattle off all these guys, they run a great 40. We're going to be here all day because if you made this list, you at least had a sick 40 paired up with, an awesome vertical or a broad jump, or you look great in the drills or something like that. And I do also apologize. A lot of the pictures that are available from the Combine are of the 40. So some of these pictures may look a little repetitive. But anyways, with all that house cleaning out of the way, we start with Braden Fisk, man. And a guy who really popped at the Senior Bowl. And it was just the suddenness, the explosiveness, and not the world's biggest defensive tackle, but man, you could just see the ability to get off the line of scrimmage, shoot gaps, and again, you saw it at the Senior Bowl, and all of his athletic testing backed that up, whether it's the broad, showcasing that explosiveness, the 40, kind of going into those individual tests. It was like, whoa, this dude's stealing the show out of the defensive line, but really, the defensive line, there's a lot of guys you could pick through and be like, who was the guy who impressed me the most? I'd probably say Braden Fisk. Also, as we're going position group by position group, I'm pretty sure all these guys are in alphabetical order. So, all the safeties should be in alphabetical order, all the corners should be in alphabetical order. And if they're not, shut up. Yes, they are. Byron Murphy II, one of my favorite players of this class. It's basically between him and Dallas Turner, who I'm going to have as the highest defensive player on my board. Maybe Tyrion Arnold sneaks into that conversation, but Murphy, kind of the same stuff we talked about with Fisk, but I think to a higher degree. You just see so much of Byron Murphy's explosiveness in his lower half, plus playing at 308 versus 290, someone like a Johnny Newton. It's that explosiveness at that weight that gives you a little bit more strength, a little more punch behind the or a little more pop behind the punch. So, man, I knew he'd be a freak tester. He wanted to run somewhere in the 4.8 for his 40. I was reading Dane Brugler's piece about that. He hit that, so whether it's the 40, the broad, the vert, you just saw that explosiveness and paired up with his tape. I mean, and it's, if you are looking forward to a drinking game next Combine, or if you're just a degenerate this upcoming weekend and just want to roll it back, every time you hear somebody say, it shows on tape, take a shot. If you do it next year, include social media in that, and you will just have one hell of a 4-day bender. Anyways, let's move on to Mekhi Wingo, a guy that the tape's not great, but special athletes, there's flashes of it on tape, and then the athletic testing just made him he's going to be one of these mid-round DTs that maybe he goes a little higher than you think, or he's going to get drafted and you understand why, right? Because he's not going to need to start right away, and he's just going to be this high-level athlete that they just kind of draft and develop. Again, it just never really came together on field at LSU, but the athletic testing was, it was a major selling point, and it was going to be no matter what going into this Combine. Athleticism was going to be the main reason to draft him, but RAS score of 8.21. You look at the 40 at under 4.9, 20 yards shuttle at less than 3 seconds at 2.8. It's insane for someone his size. So big time weekend, or big day is showing there, I really should say, for Mekhi Wingo. On to Peyton Wilson. a 4.43 40. Also, the medicals was huge, and apparently he got some great, feedback, great results. Doesn't sound like teams are as worried. He's healthy now. And also, the little bits I saw at the podium, the podium's it's an opportunity to be a free layup, for these guys to say something smart or, insightful, or just that says I love football, So he looked pretty good at the podium too, and gave some answers that I was excited about. So all that's pretty fun. But yeah, it's the 4.4340 in the green card, the green check when it comes to the medical stuff. That's going to get him into the top 50 if he does go there. Chop Robinson, 4.48 at over 250 pounds. I believe the first guy to run sub 4.5 at over 250 pounds. So we all knew he was a freak athlete. Even guys who don't like Chop that much, know this dude's an absolutely twitchy athlete. Then the broad and the vertical just to kind of back that up. He's gonna go in the top 23 to top 24. If the Houston Texans miss out on Jonathan Grenard in free agency, this is kind of looking at that. I'm like, put him in D'Amico Ryan's hands, and oh my God. I'd also love to see him go to San Francisco, but I don't see an athlete like him having 30 guys go ahead of him, or 31 guys really go ahead of him. So twitchy athlete that we knew, but I mean, like off the charts level stuff. And I mean, I think for the on-field stuff, he looks like a fluid athlete. So it's just going to take the right team to want to think that they can coach him up. And I still think there's some pieces there. And also, I think being over 250 pounds, like he's really rocked up for that size. He stops the run pretty well. He doesn't need to be like a guy who plays at 265, 270 to hold the line of scrimmage. I think he does it well enough at that 255, ish mark. So, just going to be, kind of a toolsy guy. I'm really excited to see what teams think of him. Dallas Turner, we talked about Byron Murphy. He bumped his stock. Dallas Turner, we all knew was a freaky athlete. He boosted his stock for sure. And now both those guys, it's like, they're not getting past 16. Like if the Seattle Seahawks, like feels like everyone's saying they're not going to get past 16. There's a lot of guys that the Seahawks apparently drafted in the first round. Jackson Powers Johnson, Dallas Turner, Byron Murphy. Hands up, I'm victim to it too. Like I say it all the time, this guy's not getting past 16. He'd be a great Seattle Seahawk. For whatever reason, they seem to be that swing point in the draft. But no, like legitimately, Dallas Turner, like if he's there at 16 and some of those other guys are gone, like this guy would be one hell of a Seattle Seahawk. But yeah, I think it's him or Byron Murphy going to the Falcons at 8 as the first defensive player. Like if I had to guess right now, like that makes the most sense to me. And he feels like a Raheem Morris guy, so I'd probably have it like minus 160 that Dallas Turner's that pick at 8, and then Byron Murphy maybe plus 100, plus 110, something like that. Both guys make a ton of sense for that defensive line that needs it, and Dallas Turner's just like an absolute twitchy athlete. He also talked about his weight, which this was actually one of the few podiums that I was like, okay, I actually felt like there was something worthwhile gleaning out of that. Said he feels most comfortable around 245. He got up to that 250 to 255 range this past year, and I think that's the best that I've seen him personally. I will say the first step explosiveness, you see it a little bit more last year than you do this year, but I don't think it dissipated so much that it's worth shedding those 10 pounds. It also will depend, right? Like he gets drafted into a 3-4 outside linebacker role, like, yeah, sure, 245 is fine. He gets drafted to a 4-3 defense like Chicago at 9, then 255 plus is kind of what they're looking for. So I like the 255 weight, but it was interesting to hear him say he feels most comfortable at 245. Jared Verse had to put him on this list because I feel like he was a little underrated of an athlete, because you talk about someone like a Byron Murphy, you talk about someone like a Dallas Turner, Chop Robinson, and you kind of like, yeah, Jared Verse is NFL ready, he'll be a good player from day one, and you kind of forget about like the fact that RES scored just under 9.4, 40-yard dash at 4.6, which I think is a good time for his size. Short shuttle at less than 2.7, so like, yeah, 254 pounds, like I love that. Plus it's the arm length too, 35-inch vertical. You see that first step explosiveness, almost an 11-foot broad jump too. So again, first step explosiveness, and no 3-cone. So like this definitely could be a guy who's maybe a little bit more straight line in his pass rush plan, right? Like he wants to win with a good first step, turning that into power, using his hands. And I think he has a pretty nice moveset, especially, attacking to the inside. He just may not be that guy who attacks outside shoulder up tackles, dips and rips underneath them and goes. Like he may not have that bend, that ankle flexion, that hip flexion to be able to do that. He may be a guy who's just trying to win first step, explosiveness, power, and then we'll work inside against a tackle off that because I have the moves to be able to do that. But yeah, no, I mean, I think an underrated athlete, and I think he showed that, like, he's not Laiatu Latu where he's like a good enough athlete to pass. Like, no, Jared Verse is a B-plus level athlete. He just gets a little overlooked because guys like Dallas Turner are off the charts. And then we get Terrion Arnold. And like, I know the 40 wasn't like anything insane, like 4.5 range, but dude, looks so smooth in the on-field drills. And I also think the change of direction was the biggest selling point for me anyways. Like, I was never someone who was like dead set on like this guy's going to run the most electric 40 or anything like that. So once we get to his pro day and we get to see what that 3-cone is, I think he'll really shine there. But 8.21 RES score, and I think him, and then I think the next guy we're going to talk about, nope, okay, the guy after this that we're going to talk about pretty much solidified that they're going to be the top 2 corners off the board. But I think Terrion Arnold pretty much locked up. He's going to be CB1. Cole Bishop, so I guess I just did DBs in alphabetical order, so again, hopefully this is right. Cole Bishop, I just didn't think he was that good an athlete. Like, this was one that kind of snuck up on me. I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's, hand up. Maybe it's just because he's a white guy, and I just kind of lumped him into our own little bucket there of unathletic dudes. But no, moved really smooth, had good testing numbers, and especially in the safety class when, you see Cam Kinchens have a, pretty rough 40, right? And a lot of the safety times aren't necessarily the best. This was an opportunity for him to kind of like showcase that I'm a sleeper option here. Like, take me, and I'm gonna make you happy that you did. And especially in a class where like there is no standout dude, like especially Kinchin's falling on the board. Feels like Tyler Nubin's probably everyone's safety one. Him and Javon Bullard, he's kind of a slot. Like that over the top free safety is something we're kind of missing right now. 4.45 in the 40, like I don't know. I think there's enough traits there to where like at 6'2", 206 pounds, like true junior too. I think there's going to be someone who looks at him round 3, round 4 and says, yeah, that's the guy. That's the dude we want to take a shot on. Honestly, like if he goes before Kalen Bullock, just because he doesn't have the tackling concerns, wouldn't shock me after that combine. Cam Hart, I'm a big Notre Dame fan, so I got to just make that known just before anybody calls me out on it. But man, I mean, really fluid on the on-field drills again. Pretty solid 40 considering what I thought. He also had a good Senior Bowl. And, I think at 6'3", and with how he was able to flip the hips and looks as fluid as he did, Ryan Fowler from the Draft Network put out a great video of some of the on-field drills if you didn't see it live. And then a 4.5 40 time, I think that's more than enough. So change direction plus size and plus at Notre Dame, like he was the guy teams were actively throwing to the other side. Like they were targeting Morrison more than they were targeting Hart. I think that says a lot too, having that respect from other teams too. So post the athletic numbers to kind of confirm what we see on tape, but plus 4.5 speed, plus 6'3" frame, that's going to play. Here's Quinyon Mitchell. So I think he locked up CB2, and he honestly might be CB1. Like maybe I'm wrong, and he does end up being the first guy off the board. I just think that's going to be Teron Arnold. I don't think he did enough to lose that spot. But Quinyon Mitchell at his size at 4.33 speed. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's special stuff right there. And then you go back to just think about how good he looked at the Senior Bowl, and you're like, oof, athlete competing at that stage and winning 95% of the time at a position that is damn near impossible to win 95% of your reps at. Like, okay, we're on to something here. So, I think he just basically confirmed what we wanted to see from his athletic number. Like this was a guy that I had heard that was going to run 4.3s, but I just didn't think 4.33. And then again, looked smooth, looked effortless on the on-field drills. So yeah, I think he locked up CB2 status. Max Melton, this was a guy that I thought was going to be slot only. Then he goes out there and he runs a blazing fast 40, and I'm like, oh well, maybe I'm wrong on this one. 4.39, he might have outside corner potential. And some of it's going to come down to like arm length too, right? But like 32 and an eighth, like I think he might have cleared that benchmark. So with the arm length and the speed, man, I'm kind of starting to think Max Melton's got a shot to become an outside corner once more. And this is a pretty loaded slot corner group. So anything Max Melton can do to differentiate himself as, not just a slot only guy. And it could be, I could play inside and out. I could be a great slot corner, but I also have arm length and speed to be able to play on the outside. I think that boosts the stock a ton. Anything that you can do to differentiate yourself from all these slot, really nice corners goes a long way. Speaking of these awesome slot corners, Mike Sainristil, 4.4, 740, and at his size, and again the fluidity on the movement in the on-field drills. I mean, just this guy is just an NFL-ready guy. And I've been saying for a while now, he's kind of my poor man's Devon Witherspoon. I just love it. I see it in his ability to hit. Yeah, he is a little bit on the lighter side, 182, kind of around that Devon Witherspoon mark, But that being said, I am just not concerned necessarily about him, because I just don't think he's going to play outside like I think Witherspoon. Like I think the frame came up for Witherspoon a little bit more just because the expectations were going to be that he plays outside. But yeah, love what I saw from the athletic testing. Sub 7-second 3-cone. Love to see that for a slot guy too. Also 14 reps on the bench isn't like super terrible either. So big fan of Mike Sainristil. I just got Mike Hilton, kind of another comp I've seen for him too, and I think he backed it all up with his testing. Tyler Owens, this is what I've seen in some winners, some losers, but I mean, like the broad jump 12.2, like that's what got him on this list. Like that's an insane mark. Yeah, 1 inch off tying the combine record. Super explosive. And when you just have that type of level of explosiveness, it kind of go back to Cole Bishop. Okay, you're an over-the-top free safety that ran a pretty good 40, and it feels like we don't have that true ball hawk guy that doesn't have major flaws all the way around him. All right, you've got my attention. And then, now kind of bring it into Tyler Owens. Again, the safety class is kind of slipping a little bit. Oh, my God, here's this 12.2 broad jump. Can this guy be someone that we look to draft in the middle rounds and develop into a box safety? Like, I think they'd be crazy not to at least look at it that way. I also think the tape out of Texas Tech isn't, like, too bad whatsoever. And plus 6'2", 216 pounds. Like, he kind of has that ideal box safety. No 40, no 10-yard split information. That'll all come in the pro day, which those numbers will probably be generous too. Nate Wiggins, this one is kind of an up, kind of a down. Like, 273 is a concerning weight for me. But 4.2 something 40, that passes with flying colors. Like, no concerns about that. And that's kind of where, the conversation on Twitter was largely like, I don't love that weight for him, but at the same time, if it comes to the expense, of a 4.240, 4.28 to be precise, then I think I can live with that. And you see awesome athleticism on tape, so like it was confirmation there. There's your shot. You see it on tape. It's just, man, I'd love to know what he was playing at Clemson. Like, was he actually playing at 173? Because then I guess I have less concerns with it. But if he lost weight to run that sub 4.3 time, then I have issues with it, because now you're kind of misleading us. You're going to get those 10 pounds back, 10, 15 pounds back, and then what do you actually run? So just going to be a guy that you got to keep an eye on. Also, he popped his hip flexor right after running it, which, kind of a freak incident to me, but just something that's worth kind of keeping an eye on there. Theo Johnson, I think he's moved up to probably my tight end 3 just off the athletic stuff. Running back, tight end, I do heavily take into account, like, what are the athletic numbers? I think that's a huge dictator to what you're going to do on this position. And maybe it's just confirming things that I did see on tape too, and maybe it's highlighting something that I didn't see. But yeah, Theo Johnson, after a pretty solid Senior Bowl, wasn't a great tight end group at the Senior Bowl, but I think he did look the best of that class. And he put up these numbers at 6'6". Like, yeah, he's gonna be the project tight end. You have like a clear tight end 1 in this class. I still think JT Sanders, even at 4.69 40 time, I think he's tight end 2. I trust it. I think he moves even better on the field. And I think Theo Johnson comes in as this tight end 3, where it's like super athletic dude with an ideal frame. Like, okay. And there's still work to be done, like with the on-field product, but I think you can work around that. The hands are solid enough to where I think you can build off from the athletic build. Ladd McConkey, this dude, he went from like everyone's Julian Edelman, Wes Welker type to where it's like, oh no, he's runs sub 4.4. He's actually a much closer comp to Garrett Wilson. And I was actually talking to people and looking at it myself. Chris Olave had pretty much identical like testing and measurements to like Garrett Wilson. So Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson comps are more in line than the Wes Welker, Julian Edelman comps here for Ladd McConkey, which I knew. People who know Ladd McConkey understand that this dude is way faster than Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, all those white slots that he tends to get comped to. And he's way more, even like he's a little bit taller than him, but like a Tyler Lockett out of Seattle, like or in Seattle right now. He can be a field stretcher, but he's also just like this insanely sharp, crisp route runner underneath. So think about how Olave's used. I think he'll be kind of the inverse of that, even though they have similar body types and builds. Like I think Olave's a deep threat that the Saints keep in the offense with those more intermediate routes. Ladd McConkey, I think you're going to feature underneath, take advantage of his route running and his suddenness out of breaks, and then time those shots to go deep down the field. So I think it's just going to be a little bit different role. But when you look at his body, like Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, in the athletic measurables, like it's there. A.D. Mitchell, boy ran a 4.35. I knew Adonai at 80, whatever you want to call him. I'm going to call him 80. I knew the dude could move, but oh my God, plus the 40, plus the broad. Clearly one of the biggest winners. Like, I think the best overall RES scores were a running back we haven't gotten to, Theo Johnson, and then A.D. Mitchell was number 3. Which you can just look this up at like rescalculator.com. So awesome athletic testing. I also think he looked really smooth in the gauntlet and the combine drills. So yeah, and I think Twitter kind of summed this one up. Congratulations, welcome to the top 20. Like, I just don't see you getting past it. And then Ricky Pearsall, second best 3-cone, which I got to put my hand up and just like let bias be known. Like 3-cone's my drill. Like where most people get like jazzed about a 40 time, like a stellar 3-cone is an eye opener for me. Like once JSN runs a 6.57 3-cone, I'm like, all right, we got to reevaluate things. When I hear Juju Brents runs a 6.63 3-cone as a corner at 6'4", I was like, already love this dude, and oh my God, he's my guy. Ricky Pearsall, 6'4", 3-cone. This man at 6'1", with one of the craziest highlight, catch reels that you could put together in college football history, runs a sub-devil 3-cone. Like, that's crazy. So, you see the suddenness out of breaks, and especially at the Senior Bowl, like I felt like I noticed that a lot more in those in-breaking routes. Oh my God, yeah, absolutely. He's got long speed, he's got suddenness out of his breaks, he's got sick hands, ideal frame. He's not getting past the top 50 mark. Like, I just can't see him lingering around the board too long on day 2, specifically in the second round. Brian Thomas Jr., awesome speed, awesome size, looks great in the gauntlet. He checked all the boxes. Every athletic measurement, he wanted to hit, he hit it and then some. And again, the on-field stuff was awesome. And it's tough because I got Brian Thomas, I got A.D. Mitchell as like my receivers 4 and 5 respectively, and A.D. goes first. I'm like, oh man, I don't know. I'm kind of sipping the A.D. Kool-Aid now. Maybe he's my receiver 4. And then Brian Thomas is like, hold my beer. And I'm like, damn it. I don't know what to do here. So yeah, even after those top 3 guys, this receiver class is bananas. We're not done yet. Rome Odunze is my receiver 3 in this class. I don't know. Him and Neighbors, like it's 2A, 2B. They're both awesome. 4.47 40, 6.88 3-cone, and he checked all the boxes I want to see. And then as if this was going to surprise anybody, looked as fluid as possible in the on-field stuff. Like, this guy's as NFL polished as anybody in this receiver class, right there with Marvin Harrison Jr. in my estimation. And then athletic numbers, he raised no concerns. And he wasn't one of these 6'3" receivers all of a sudden that shrinks down to 6'1". No, maintain that size, 212 pounds. I think it's a good frame. Love the athletic numbers that we got with it too. Xavier Worthy, the man of the thumbnail for a reason. I mean, 4.21 40. I mean, it looked like, I was like, oh, okay, he tied the record 4.22. I wonder if he actually ended up beating it. I wonder what this laser test is going to be. I felt like he was either going to gain a tenth of a second or lose it. Then you see Dane Brugler tweet that someone on field texted him saying they got 4.21, and that's the official time, dude. So for a guy who led Texas in receiving yards, like, we knew he was going to be fast, but like setting a combine record's huge. Speed wins, but like, this isn't just like Henry Ruggs, oh my god, this guy's blazing fast. Not just John Ross, oh my god, this guy can move, or Darius Hayward Bay, or any of these guys that just they're fast, and then that's it. Ruggs had a little bit more than some of those other guys, but this dude was, like I said, the leading receiver at Texas. Like, he didn't have a triple-digit catches like Tank Dell last year, but Worthy to me is much closer to a Tank Dell than he is a John Ross, because he was actually like a featured part of the offense, and he had 76 catches, and like AD had 70 something too. Like, he led the receiving corps while it was still close between him and AD. If he didn't have AD Mitchell there, this dude might have had 80, 90 catches on the year. So the drops maybe a little bit of concern. Earlier on in his career, I think he cleaned it up that last season at Texas. I just think, get him some confidence, get him with a quarterback that can chuck it deep. Like, the Bills at 28 got eyes on you, the Chiefs at 32, of course I got eyes on you. Like, let this man play with a howitzer quarterback arm. Like, I absolutely need to see it. But I also think he's way more functional receiver than just being like the deep threat. He can be a multi-purpose tool in that offense. Trey Benson, 4.39 40 was all I need to see. Somebody comped him to Jonathan Taylor the other day, and I haven't been able to unsee it since somebody said that. And I was like, damn, all right, that kind of sucks. That's the one. I hate comps. I hate people putting something in my head and then now I can't unsee it. This is case in point my issue here. But that being said, I'll forgive him. Super explosive, and that's basically what we wanted to confirm and see. So much of like the combine for me of running backs is like the on-field stuff is like fine, like whatever. But it's just the confirmation for like long speed. And like, I thought Audric Esme would run a whole lot better than a 4.72, but that he did not. But Trey Benson checked all my athletic measurables, and basically, we got our top of the running back, charts filled out, and now we got our sleeper. Like, Isaac Guerendo is going to be this year's. I say Chris Evans coming out of Michigan from 2 years ago just because it felt like in that 2021 class, everyone's sleeper running back, everyone just said Chris Evans. Isaac Guerendo is going to be this year's version of that, where it's like, who's your day 3 guy / late, round 3 dude? Oh, Isaac Guerendo. Like, 100 RAS score? Yeah, no doubt. Like, I think it was like the 5th best all-time RAS score for a running back. Like, that's bananas. So, yeah, super twitchy. And you also got guys like Brett Coleman hyping him up just on film. Like, you see that explosiveness. There it is, shows on tape. So, I think, with enough people championing him, he was a backup, though. Like, so small sample size. But, like, think about Josh Jacobs coming out of Bama. Like, his smaller sample size and less wear and tear on the tires was a huge selling point for him. So it totally could be for Isaac Guerendo. Like, you're not getting this guy with a ton of wear and tear. He's super explosive. His rookie contract, you're getting the best and the most fresh of him. So yeah, I definitely think he's gonna be this year's sleeper. And then Jalen Wright. Let me actually move myself. Guys, let me know what you think. Box, do we like the side column with the likes, subscribe, all that sort of stuff, or do we just like the floating box in the corner? I'm kind of feeling the floating box lately. But yeah, Jalen Wright, I mean, he basically confirmed he's probably my RB2. That athletic testing, I mean, that's, oh my God. Him and Trey Benson, like, running backs 2 and 3 right there. And then honestly, they may leap Blake Corum as much as I love his floor and I love his vision, contact balance, et cetera, et cetera. Jalen Wright, I mean, the 40, the broad, like, you see the explosiveness because he's running away from SEC schools, including the likes of like Alabama. So yeah, super twitchy athlete, but also I like the vision. I like the power that he plays with, enough jump cut ability too. So I think he's a well-rounded package, and he basically just confirmed he's as explosive as anybody else in this running back draft class. Michael Penix Jr., no athletic testing, but he's the arm talent guy, like, on top of, like, the guys at the top of the class. They're arm talent guys too, but like, once you get into that, next tier down, like non-Caleb Williams, non-Drake May guys, like, he's the best pocket passer of the group, and he's the arm talent guy, and so he needed to look good throwing. And dude, like, there were so many throws that were like, he's having it leave his hand and it's getting the receiver right as he leaves his break. It's like, he's throwing to this guy for the second time today, and he's got this timing down perfectly. Like that, there's just something instinctual about Michael Penix where it's that time. And even on the deep balls, you can see him watching the receiver, and he's just leading him perfectly in stride. And various speeds, different guys running these routes with him. He's just got great feel for that, and it's hard because this is an event that's all about quantifying like what you see on tape. How fast this guy? 4.39 40. Bang. Now we know. For Penix, you don't have any of that stuff. It's just like, dude, you watch him throw, and it's like he's got it. It's the touch, it's the arm, talent. It's and I mean that not just from distance, but like the ability to zip a throw in there, as Phil Simms calls it, or Chris Simms calls it, those power throws, being able to plant that back foot and fit it in there, and then also just the timing and just trying to get on the same page with the receivers, and he did it faster than the other guys. And by far and away, to me, the most impressive thrower at the combine. Joe Alt, I mean, I'm seeing combine comps to Lane Johnson and Jonathan Ogden, so Hall of Famer and future Hall of Famer. That's pretty awesome. And dude, at like 6'8.5", like he showed, he's a titan. Not the most insane athletic numbers, other than the 20-yard short shuttle. That was a pretty great number. But I don't think the 40 is any reason that anybody's drafted him as the first tackle. But it's just everything you see on tape. Plus, he checks all these boxes, and he's a massive human being. Oh, and he's younger than Olu Fashanu, Talise Fawaga, J.T. Latham, all these guys. He's the youngest of the headline tackles. So yeah, huge winner there. And I think he just confirmed he's going to be the first tackle off the board. Tanner Bortolini, I think this is a really big one. And as we get deeper and deeper down this list, some of these, you're like, huh. I don't know if I was watching Tanner Bortolini on day 4, and I got you. That's what I'm here to do. But also, we're trying to fill out 32 names here. Right, so Bortolini is I don't think this was the greatest center workout ever, but I think zone blocking centers, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they miss out on Jackson Powers Johnson and Zach Frazier in the first 2 rounds, this could become their mid-round target, or a team like Miami if they lose a Connor Williams, or San Francisco if they're looking to reload at that position. Those inside zone, 2 outside zone teams, this guy was such a fluid mover, and north of 300 pounds, so I think in those schemes you don't mind the 305 pound mark. So I think he's basically just locked into himself being one of the top mid-round zone blocking centers available. Troy Fautanu, I mean, north of 33-inch arms. He had longer arms than Joe Alt and Talise Fawaga. I mean, now we're getting to the conversation where it felt like the arm length was going to have to move him inside, but now it's just where could he be better? Because now I'm stuck, because I think he could be a great tackle. He could be, and this is hard to say because there's a lot of great guards. He could be one of the best guards in the league. So great tackle versus one of the best, one of the elite at an interior position. That's going to be the battle here. And it's going to come down to the team that he gets drafted to, right, for sure. But this guy is not going to make it past the Dallas Cowboys at 24. If he gets to the Dallas Cowboys at 24, and especially now that they're moving on from Tyron Smith, Troy Fautanu could be their left tackle or their left guard. I'm looking at 24. That's a hard floor for Troy Fautanu. So with that arm length, he's saying now I can play tackle. And now it's just going to come down to where a team thinks he's going to be best. Garrett Greenfield, north of 33-inch arms, so kind of a tackle guard conversation here, but broke a combine record for the broad jump, and also the vertical was really good too. So I'm just seeing a super explosive, well-moving guard, potentially a tackle, again, 33.5-inch arms. 33.5, maybe it was 33.1/8. Should have that written down in front of me. Apologies for that. But north of 33-inch arms, so you could have a conversation about it. He's kind of in that Rashawn Slater arm length range. But I think the explosiveness was really something that popped for me. And again, zone blocking teams, this could be your mid-round guard that you target. Marius Smith, 6'7", 340 pounds, barely over 5 seconds to the 40, crazy 20-yard short shuttle. It was the talk of Twitter for 15 minutes. So, Marius Mims, if you liked him, the combine did nothing but confirm how much you love him. And if you're a little light on Marius Mims, this was something where it's I know he's got all this stuff. I need to see it on field. So, confirmation bias basically here with Marius Mims. But you can't look at those numbers and not say, damn, that's impressive. And because of that, plus the Ohio State film from a college playoff a year ago, this guy's going in the first round. It's just going to come down to who's got the risk appetite, who wants to mold that ball of clay. And then the last one here, Kingsley Suamataia, one of my favorite players in the class. So I do have to just kind of let that be known. But I think all in all, one, the size and then the on-field stuff, pretty solid. No major complaints from me there. But then also, I think the athletic testing on top of it was encouraging. I think we got the numbers we wanted to see out of a Kingsley Suamataia. So, big time winner, and the tackle class just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And man, what a year to need a offensive lineman, because this back half of the video is basically just me the movement skills, the 40, the broad, all that sort of stuff. Great, so I think 6'8", 504, 1.74, 10-yard splits, not the worst, not the best, but it's good enough at 6'8" with those movement skills. 31 reps on the bench too. 9.2 broad jump, I think is a pretty good mark too. So a guy who needs some polishing, but I think you like the frame, and then this confirmed that this guy's a pretty awesome mover for his size. So I think a stock up, and I don't want to say first round guy, But like the Chiefs at 32, depending on what happens with receiver or whatever, or a team that trades down, maybe if the Chiefs want to move up, like that could be an interesting tackle spot for him. Or as you get into the mid 30s, the New England Patriots there, the Arizona Cardinals could be an interesting option, basically to 40. Especially now that the Commanders have moved on from Charles Leno. Like I'm looking at that second round pick the Commanders have, and I'm like, Tua Matai feels like he's probably not going to get past that point. But guys, this upcoming week I will have another 3-round mock draft, so we'll be able to put all this to the test. We'll actually get to see where Kingsley Tua Matai goes and some of these other winners of the NFL Combine. So stick around the channel. We'll have that coming out either Friday or Saturday. So stick with me. It'll come out sometime this weekend. But guys, let me know who your biggest winners of the NFL Combine were from day 1 all the way through day 4. Who did I leave off this list that you think, Teach, how in the world did you leave that guy off? Love to hear why you think I was crazy for leaving them off. And ultimately, of the guys I talked about, who was the single biggest combine winner? The guy on the screen right here is certainly a compelling argument. Braden Fisk might be my pick. Him, Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell. Quinyon Mitchell. There's so many guys that can go around. So let me hear your pick for the single biggest winner of the NFL Combine. But hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. And until next time, my name is Teach, and I am signing off.